Mr. Speaker, while I appreciate the Minister of Service Alberta making time to meet on an important issue for many of my constituents and people across Alberta, since that meeting I have received a mountain of correspondence referencing what appear to be serious breaches of consumer protection legislation, supposedly being ruled outside of the mandate and jurisdiction of the legislation and this government. To the Minister, can you confirm that the sale of timeshare properties in Alberta is regulated by current and past legislation and your commitment to ensuring all Albertans are protected under law?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm, of course, disheartened here about the financial burden and hardships that Albertans have faced with these particular timeshares. For too long, Alberta's consumer protection laws definitely lagged behind, and that was something that we fixed. That's why we have taken action, Mr. Speaker, and strengthened our consumer protection laws so hardworking Albertans are protected, whether they are buying a new home or condo, or whether going to their favourite concert or getting work done on the family car.
For supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, given I've received constituent correspondence dating back to March of this year from Alberta Justice stating the sale of timeshare properties in Alberta is regulated under the Consumer Protection Act, formerly the Fair Trading Act, and given that I'm convinced the Minister wishes to do the right thing to protect Alberta consumers, Minister, can you explain to Albertans why this government has failed to enforce clear and, to me, unequivocal protections within both the Consumer Protection Act and its predecessor, the Fair Trading Act?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the RCMP have actually investigated this matter, and I, of course, encourage Albertans to follow up with them. There is some cross-jurisdictional things happening in this, since the timeshares were indeed in BC but sold in Alberta. We're, of course, continuing to listen to Albertans who are impacted by this, and definitely encourage Albertans to follow up with Service Alberta's Consumer Protection Unit, because any new information that may become available is something we want to hear here in Service Alberta.
Second supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, I believe this minister has some responsibility. Given that consumer protection is important to all members of this Assembly, and rightly has been a theme of this current government and its members, and given that my constituents feel recourse to the courts would not have been necessary if this government had done its job in the first place by protecting consumers. Again to the minister, if the legislation has been breached, will you commit to full disclosure on the issues of mandate and jurisdiction and a full and perhaps independent investigation into those alleged breaches?
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just recently, this particular matter again went back before the courts, Mr. Speaker. So, in the case of an independent investigation, the precedent set by the court, I think, would end up settling that matter. However, in Service Alberta, we, of course, are monitoring the situation, and we are happily taking feedback from Albertans. So if there does need to be changes above and beyond what we've already done, Mr. Speaker, this government and this minister would be happy to look at them. Thank you.
Thank you.